Getting our friends together isn't as easy as it used to be. We get it. Life comes at you fast. But trust us, your pals are desperate for a good hang. And when they hear you stock the party with drinks from Drizzly, they'll be banging down your door. Let Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery, take care of the supplies. All you need is an excuse. It doesn't even have to be a good one. It's your dog's birthday. The loquats are finally ripe. Whatever. With Drizzly, you can compare prices on a massive selection of beer, wine, and spirits and get them delivered straight to your door, which means you can entice the crew to leave their houses without ever leaving yours. Whatever the occasion, download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. Today. Must be 21 plus. Not available in all locations. Man, I wish they had Drizzly when I used to play D&D and Riffs. Maybe it's time for me to start again. Thanks, Drizzly.
The podcast playground.
Hooray! Hey, it's my song. Let's sing it. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, sing. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
All right. Hiya. It's Jesse Blaze Snider, the Coolest Geek Alive. How you doing out there? Care Bear stare to y'all. How you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Gearing up for Thanksgiving with my kids. I'm excited about that. Building my business. For those of you waiting for the Kickstarter for King of Kings to be, the books to be sent out and stuff. I just got the t-shirts. Had a little bit of trouble with the printer. Had some printers who were like telling me that they could do the metal covers, and then they were kind of fibbing to get my my business. But then I finally found a place, and I'm working with them right now to get these books printed so I could have them to everybody before Christmas. So I'm excited about that. And also I'm launching my next book, which is an adult comedy book called Fucking for Our Future. It's going to be on Fund My Comic first. It's really funny. Something I thought I would never do. A book that's like based around nudity because all these nude books were selling so much. But I figured if I could tell a story where nudity was like part of the story, that I wouldn't mind the nudity on the covers because it was about what was happening in the book. So I came up with this really great book about these little petite women in these power armors getting sperm samples from these giant men because their civilization split down the middle, the men and the women. And the women have been cloning, but the cloning machines aren't working now, and now the men are out in the wilderness, asexually reproducing and not interested in the women anymore. So it's kind of like a Roadrunner cartoon where the coyote is the women trying to get sperm samples. Like, you know, it's like it's funny because the whole book revolves around sex, but it's not like about sex in any sort of salacious way. It's like a very kind of scientific and clinical way, like aliens abducting humans or humans going out into the woods and picking up a deer and tagging it, that kind of thing. It's pretty funny. Anyway, I love doing it with an artist named Dizzy Arnold. He and I have done the whole book together, soup to nuts, and I've been doing all the photoshopping for our Kickstarter, and it's a lot of work, but it's exactly what I love to do, man. I love to make some great comic books. Love to honor this wonderful medium that we have in comics. It's an unsung medium. It's just so great. It's so rich because you can do anything in your imagination, and there are all these wonderful artists to, just take the ball home. I really believe too, and you write for your artist. You write things that your artist is going to kill, that that they're going to be able to see in their mind and bring to life. And there's just so many wonderful artists who have brought to life all of these worlds that I'm waiting to see brought to life on the big screen. And unfortunately, that's not really happening. And I'm here today not to just talk about that, side of, the geek culture, because there's a lot of sides of it. And, when it comes to Disney, I have a lot of geekdoms there. I'm a huge Muppets geek, first and foremost, and they snatched up Muppets a while back. I'm a huge Pixar geek, and they snatched up Pixar. I'm a huge Marvel Comics geek and comics geek in general, and they snatched up Marvel Comics. I'm a huge Disney animation geek, like big time, and classic Disney in general. Walt Disney is on my short list of top 10 greatest idols of all time, people who I look up to, people who I strive to sort of be like and emulate to hope to achieve similar things with my life. in what I saw from these people and somebody like Walt Disney, which was he brought a lot of joy to people. The Walt Disney Company was this wonderful, joyful brand. I always loved it. I was always a Disney person. My mom raised me on the Muppets and Disney. And I raised my kids on Disney and the Muppets. I really have a great deal of admiration for what was built and what was achieved here. And I don't take it lightly, all this criticism of Bob Iger. It's funny, I have a very great friend of mine. Shout out to Dave Marfield. He's a man of many parts, but he directed an awesome movie, wrote and directed a movie called, I think it's called Deep Water. I might be getting it wrong right now, but I think that's what it's called. It's really awesome. And very cool, trippy movie. He's directed a lot of music videos. He's also like a financial mastermind and like so many different things. And Dave's a great dude. He's also a huge Disney fan. His favorite Pixar movie is Ratatouille. And, he's one of those guys who has just been sort of reluctant to accept that Iger does not know the way, partially because he's not necessarily Mr. Big Star Wars fan and Mr. Marvel fan and all these other things. And his politics are largely very much in line with Mr. Iger's politics. So the ways in which too much of those politics will affect the material and the audience's reception to that material is a little skewed. And every single time I kind of push back at Iger or whatever, he'll kind of send me like a whole thing about like how Bob Iger's good and he did this and XYZ. And I understand some of these perspectives. There are some positive things that Bob Iger did. One of the main bits was buying up all those things. I mean, that was genius. Disney was weak in the boy brand department. Unfortunately, they took their boy brands and they really feminized them. And there was a big argument on Twitter. I think my friend Chris Gore from Film Thread had tweeted out that it's going to be shown to be one of the biggest financial stupidity decisions of all time. Oops, sorry, I have to like belch or something. That Disney feminized their boy brands that they bought. And people were like fighting back against this, but they're absolutely right. The girls already like the boy brands when the boy brands are done really well. You don't have to feminize a boy brand to make girls enjoy it. Girls will enjoy a movie that's all boys if it's a great movie, just like boys will enjoy a movie that's all girls if it's a great movie. It's that simple. We are not so discriminating. There are examples throughout history of just so many characters and so many people who we love and support. I keep thinking of one of the lead characters in the Gargoyle series, who's kind of like a weird quasi love interest to Goliath, and she's just this really powerful woman detective, and man, just love her, and I know so many people love her, and there's and Ahsoka, even though we didn't tune in for this series because we lost trust, the audience lost trust in you. But the Muppets and Marvel, I'm less of a Star Wars fan. I've said this before, but I've gotten into Star Wars actually with Rogue One, which I thought was done really well. I also love Andor. But the hardcore Star Wars fans, man, they really tuned out. All my friends who were big Star Wars fans, who were driving my desire to get into the brand so I could be with them, they left. And that's a big thing, man. It's people are followers. And when it comes to a geek culture, anything, something based on a novel, whatever it is, that's a big thing. People go, oh yeah, it's based on a book that people love. People trust that. Okay, there's a fan base for this. But the fan base, people are connected to these people. These are our brothers and our sisters and our friends and fathers and mothers and whatever else. We run into people on trains reading the books, and we see it in the world. We connect with it, and we ask these people, and we go, oh yeah, I heard such and such is coming out. And if all of the buzz on that thing for that hardcore fan, and they know it, and all the buzz is bad, they say, oh no, and they change all of the energy, all the trajectory of all this positive buzz for these fair weather fans who are largely just following the trends. There's so many great ways that they could have done Captain Marvel that would have been awesome. I mean, there's always great ways to write great science fiction and fantasy. I mean, it's ripe for great stories, and anybody who loves to read novels and I'm less well read in this, but I just know from so many friends of mine, there's so many different types of dragon novels and fantasy novels and things that you can check out, and a lot of them are great, and series and books after books, and I've had friends recommend so many of them to me. I'm just always like digging into a stack of comics, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. And then when I do read regular books, I tend to read books that are on like real life kind of stuff, so I can learn and be a better writer. So it's hard for me to always be in that same place getting into that stuff, but I know what it's like in comics, just how many great comics there are, and it's crazy how many wonderful comic books are stuck in intellectual property litigation and nightmare and just kind of limbo, where they've been bought up by studios but they're not being made, and then like they get free, and then it's like them by themselves because people don't know they're free now, and the buzz that was on their book before isn't there anymore. And oh man, like there's so many great series. I remember like at a time when I was building my business initially, like 6 years ago, before my divorce and fires and a whole bunch of things that kind of got in the way of everything that I was doing at the time. I was reaching out to a couple different creators about their books that I thought were really great. And people were very, very on the scent of comics, and they were basically buying up anything that was doing good on any level. So, everything good and everything that I wouldn't touch was getting weird little deals and like locked into places and whatnot. But like that Spawn movie, which is a good example, it just never materialized. You never see anything come out. I keep thinking of the Luna brothers, who were the ones who I had approached. They have at least 3 books that I read from them. Ultra, I think, was the first one. It had these great kind of Maxim-looking covers, and it was about this girl superhero. It was like a reality kind of thing, though, but it was really well done. I liked it. It was charming. I don't think I read the whole book, but I read like the second half of it because I started reading it late. I don't remember why. Maybe I was reviewing books at the time, but I don't remember. And but I liked it enough that I followed them on to their next book, which was, I think, called Girls. And that book was fucking awesome. It's a favorite of mine. Homework assignment for tonight. This book, Girls, or another book by them, The Sword by the Luna brothers. Really great stuff. The Sword was next. It was awesome. And I really just thought some great things could be done with their books, and that also the budgets wouldn't have to be particularly huge to achieve the things that they did in both their books, and that they were really ripe for adaptation. And I was, in the middle, I had some connections here or there, and I was wondering, what the availability of their properties were, basically. And because I was looking at some animation stuff at the time. I've been working with Mythic Legions, Four Horsemen Studios, who make a action figure line called Mythic Legions, and my company, the Killer Rabbits Company, we published their book, the Mythic Legions art book, with Greg Weisman doing the scripts and kind of building this world out, this fantasy world. So anyway, I was just looking in this space, and I was like, that could be turned into an animated series or maybe something else. Like, I really believe in that. Anyway, they were like, yeah, we're locked up, and that was a decade ago now, and nothing's been made, and it sucks because like that stuff's great. It was great then, still great now. Good idea is a good idea is a good idea. Somebody should adapt it, and I guess I'm gonna have to go and like pick the low-hanging fruit when I finally get myself into position and go back and make some of these things that aren't being made that are so awesome. Because man, there's so many great comics, and there's so many great books and novels. One of my friends, Pat, I'll have to bring him in to be a consultant to adapt some great fantasy novels that he knows about, because I know he's got something that he loves.
What up, guys? Jesse Blaze Snider here. And whether your resolution is to save money, eat better, or stress less, HelloFresh is here to help you do all 3. Say hello to your most delicious year yet, with fresh ingredients and chef-crafted recipes at a price point you'll like, delivered right to your door. So you've resolved to actually sit down and eat dinner around the table like me. But what do you do about those nights when your schedule's packed, like mine always is? Turn to HelloFresh's lineup of quick and easy meals, including their 15-minute recipes designed to help minimize mealtime stress. It's really awesome, actually. My brother, Shane, he was doing Twitch, and he had a sponsorship from HelloFresh. So me and my girlfriend at the time, we got a bunch of HelloFresh meals, and we ended up doing it for a few months because it was just awesome. It was super convenient. The biggest thing about it that I liked was that I didn't feel like I was wasting food all the time, because everything was cut into portions exactly what you needed for the meals. And the meals were delicious. My girl was making them mostly, and I mean, they were really great and usually pretty easy to get done, like fast and stuff. I really highly recommend HelloFresh. It's quite a cool experience to just have that food show up to your door. Here's the directions. Here's everything pre-cut. And, you know, and you're just cleaning up the dishes to get it done. So go to HelloFresh.com/CoolGeekFree and use code CoolGeekFree for free breakfast for life. I'm so excited to offer that to you. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/CoolGeekFree with code CoolGeekFree. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. I'm here to talk about Bob Iger. I'll just tell you what I wrote here, my headline for today. It's going to be Disney's Bob Iger problem. Problem with Bob Iger. Replacing, quote, reverence with, quote, respect, and failing at that. Iger blames COVID, quote, and quantity, quote. Is he right? And then I'm saying Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny, The Little Mermaid, The Marvels, Elementals, Antman and the Wasp, Quantumania, Lightyear, bomb at the box office. And I know some of those seemingly made a lot of money, but the amount of money that they're laying out for these movies and not disclosing it or coming out in other ways, and if you dig into it, you can find out they are, whoa, they just lost a lot of money these past 2 years. And COVID is fucking over, and there's plenty of evidence of that. While Secret Invasion, Ahsoka, Andor, Obi-Wan, She-Hulk, and others fall short on Disney Plus. Is Bob Iger right? Is COVID too much? Is too much quantity responsible for Disney's lack of creativity? That's what he said recently. Jesse Blaze Snider, professional comic book writer and Coolest Geek Alive, lays the blame squarely on Bob Iger's feet. At Bob Iger's feet. You know, explain Top Gun Maverick, Avatar The Way of Water, which everybody was predicting was going to fail, Into the Spiderverse 2, Super Mario Brothers movie, Minions, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, even Elvis, or how about Barbenheimer and John Wick. And a lot of these movies actually has make less money than a few of the things that I mentioned above, but their budgets are so much more reasonable that these things are able to be done. Some of the ways in which some of these creative people are operating based on a lot of leakers and information coming out of studios, and I know people who have confirmed as much, but they're doing these things where they're like, what do you call it? It's almost like a choose your adventure. I think the term has been called scrapbooking by Doomcock on his channel, where they're just, they're shooting a lot of things and they're figuring it out later. And like that's been coming out in recent quotes from Kevin Feige, like making the movie great in post, figuring it out in post. And they've kind of been doing that, unfortunately, since the very beginning with Iron Man. But they had Jon Favreau, a really wonderful, great creative person who was working on that thing at the time. They didn't have somebody who was doing, oversight to creative exchanges, which is what Kevin Feige has been doing. He's been overseeing creative people. There was a creative committee. They dissolved it. He was being overseen by the creative committee. The creative committee was making things go great, and he was feeling like they were getting in his way. And now the last two phases, I mean, if you've been paying attention to the show, we've been really breaking it down. Oh my God. They're fucking destroying their brand, and they've been destroying the comics. The comics are just being eaten alive by anime. Everybody coming up new isn't interested in this like very forced progressivism or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it, or liberalism or whatever. I'm a more liberal person in general, but nobody likes to be preached to. It's just like half the time that I hear people complain about this stuff, I'll go watch it and I go, well, it didn't really bother me necessarily. But I understand why people are feeling as though it's a sore thumb in their eye, and that it's like being like rubbed in their face, and like it's not being done in any sort of delicate way. Certainly, can everybody admit that? If you're on the left side, left or the right, like it's not being done delicately. It's being done very heavy-handed. And when people can see patterns, predictive patterns, that's everybody's least favorite thing about a movie. People like movies that surprise them. The movies they get talking about are surprising movies.
the horror movies. Oh man, you got to see that. Whatever. It's not about formulas, even though there is certain types of formulas to honoring genres and honoring the original things and places where you come from. And I'm going to read this whole fucking quote from Bob Iger that really gets down to the root of all the fucking problems that they're having. The idea of reverence versus respect, and it really just says everything. And I want to define these words, reverence and respect, and just check out the kind of stupidity that we're really getting from this man and what he's really saying when he's saying this. So this is an older quote, and I got to give credit to a YouTuber whose channel was recommended to me, or rather this subject was recommended to me. He made a video on YouTube called "Why Disney Abandoned Its Core Audience," and his channel is called The Fourth Age, and you can check out his channel. He has some different and deeper, interesting things to say about the roots of so much of this stuff, and he's not wrong on a lot of levels. If you want to check out his thing, like I said, The Fourth Age, Why Disney Abandoned Its Core Audience, he just turned me on to the quote, and then I found the actual quote itself so I could read it to you, and we could talk about the part of it that really gets me as a professional writer, a professional creative person in this space who loves all of the things that Disney does and has been admiring and revering and respecting their work for his entire life. So Bob Iger, and the context of this is that he was asked about when he took over as CEO from Michael Eisner. So he said, quote, "Disney, having been founded in 1923 by Walt Disney, still had an abnormal adherence to its legacy, to its heritage, to its past. It was a religion. And what was clear to me is that if that adherence or the reverence that people had within the company for that heritage continued, it would get in the way of innovation. We would not be able to adapt quick enough. We would not be able to look at change with an open mind and an ability to seize the opportunity as opposed to just looking at its threat. And so I started articulating in the succession process the need to balance heritage with innovation. And what I ultimately concluded was that we need to respect our past because there are a lot of qualities about the past, the brand attributes, what Disney stood for, a number of other things, attention to quality, that had value and that should be basically carried forward into the future. But let's not revere it. Because if we revere something, we might as well just put it in a glass case in a museum and let people look at it and say, quote, "Wow, look at that." And there's a big difference. But there were a lot of folks in the company that were more on the reverential side than the respect side. And I had to really attack that. In some cases, it meant changing out personnel. In some cases, it meant taking some big, bold decisions that felt anti-brand to some people that, in my opinion, weren't at all. It was more about being pro-present and future than it was about anything that would be against the past or, the brand. Okay. So here we go. Let's just, before we go further into that, let's just look at what's the definition of respect. Respect is, as a noun, a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. This is the Oxford Language Dictionary. Okay, a feeling of deep admiration. Okay. 2, due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others. Uh-oh. It looks like we may be using definition number 1 and not definition number 2, because what is reverence? Reverence is deep respect for someone or something, or regard or treat with deep respect.
So, what is Bob Iger saying in this freaking quote? He's saying everybody's got this deep respect for Disney, and I'm thinking we should just have like a quasi respect, like a normal respect, normal kind of respect, not this like deep reverence respect, this other just respect. And which respect would that be, sir? Is that definition 1, feeling of deep admiration, or 2, due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others? I'm going with option number 1, the feeling of deep admiration elicited by their abilities, qualities, and or achievements. That's the one. Check this out. This quote, this was from an interview, I think like 5 years ago in 2017 or 2018. I think the date was here on this one here. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. 2019, this was posted. I think it was like 5 years ago from now. So that's about right. 2018, 2019, around there. Anyway, this is everything. This is the problem with all of his business. And I'm going to talk about this in a couple different ways, this respect versus reverence thing. But the first thing I should say is the shit rolls down from the top. And if he's been going around impressing this respect versus reverence thing to all of his people, it's definitely no wonder some of the things that his people are opting to do with this respect versus reverence. Like if the first meeting that Kathy Kennedy had in her office with Mr. Bob Iger was, yo, look, Kathy, respect versus reverence. I just want great stuff and blah, 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 blah. And he's leaning very hard politically, ideologically. He definitely has talked about having ideas about running for political office on the left side of things, of course. And he's so funny, man. He's not a creative person. His dream prior to doing the stuff that he's doing, well, he wanted to be like a weatherman. He wanted to be a host. He was being interviewed by one of these guys, and he's basically like, I wanted to do maybe what you would do, but I didn't think I was very good at it. Now I'd be good at it, but that ship sailed a long time ago. He wanted to be a fucking weatherman. I mean... Like, seriously, I think that should tell you. He has a business strategy that generally I agree with, which is he gets the people that he trusts for the job, and then he trusts them to do the job. And I actually agree with that 100%. That's what you should do. Unfortunately, when you let politics get in the way of art, you start limiting your pool and crystallizing the form that the art you make takes. And all of a sudden, it takes the same shape and it's repeating the same patterns in all sorts of new ways. And wasn't that the thing that you were supposed to do? You were innovating. You didn't innovate. Everything got reinvented in the same exact way. And it's interesting because the Disney Channel was very much like this. If you ever watch Disney Channel, and there's some great programs at the Disney Channel, so much of the great programs, though, on Disney Channel are driven by great actors who are like slaves to the Disney company in so many ways. A lot of them die young, but there are some wonderful, wonderful kid actors, including like Shia LaBeouf, who like came out of like some of that like Disney camp of all these wonderful, charming actors. But all of their shit that they make is super homogenized. As soon as like you see it on the TV, you're like, oh, Disney Channel. Like you recognize how it's shot, you recognize how it's lit. It all looks the same. All their little High School Musicals and their little zombie musical thing that they're making now. I have kids, so all these things I get seen in front of me. It's been like that. It's been this like woke thing that you've been talking about. It's been like that for ages. It just hadn't exactly translated over to the films. But in the TV and all that stuff, it's always very ham-fisted and kind of like annoying and aggravating and whatever else. But the transition from it into film kind of took a little while and into a lot of these mainline properties. And of course, when they started making these changes, it was very big. And I want to say vicious. They were really vicious changes for a lot of the fandom. We weren't interested in the feminization of Marvel. We were hoping that Disney would just add power to the brand and the brand would be able to continue going like it did. But then Kevin Feige became the man. And you could say that
Bob Iger was lied to, and Kevin Feige wasn't as much the man as we thought he was. And I mean, I knew that. As soon as that happened, I went, oh shit, there's a disturbance in the force. Joe Quesada and Jeff Loeb and Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Millar and Craig Kyle and wonderful creators whose names have been in creative parts of these processes at various times. Dude, you lost something huge when you jettisoned that creative committee out of your fucking minds. I mean, really, like, really, really crazy. When you let John Lasseter get jettisoned from the company, out of your fucking mind. Wonderful decision when you chose him to head things up. Bad decision when you decided to guard yourself as a company by not trying to figure out. And that was because you played into the crazy mob of people and who were canceling, you know, even people who didn't necessarily deserve to be canceled. You know, there's plenty of people who, like, I mean, the situation was embarrassing as hell for, let's say, somebody like Louis C.K., but he never did anything illegal. It was just all like super uncomfortable and like, oh God, man, this is embarrassing, you know. And dude's livelihood, he's got children, and he's a funny guy and seems generally to be a good guy on all other fronts. And you know, and that's like the most extreme. There are plenty of other guys who did much less than that, you know, things that got blown out of proportion. And I think that John Lasseter is one of them. I mean, so much of the allegations that got John Lasseter run out of Disney was like uncomfortably long hugs and being a really demanding boss, which is why Pixar is one of the most consistently high producing quality studios of all time. I mean, really, it's like there's nuance to situations, obviously. And we lost the spark of creativity there. Yeah, as a person who really cares about great creativity and where it's coming from and figuring out what that is and who's driving it, you know, like I could tell you when it comes to the Muppets, Jim Henson was not 100% the driving force of that thing. There was lots of people who I think had activity, you know, maybe let's say 10%. But, you know, the 45-45 was Jim Henson and Frank Oz. Frank Oz was huge comedy. Jim Henson is responsible for some of the comedy too, and he was the director, and he, you know, set a stage for people like Frank Oz to really, like, you know, come out of the show. But Frank Oz was a driving force behind the Muppets and Sesame Street. He is available. He is alive. All these years of my life, I've been waiting for these assholes to hire him. What the fuck is going on? It's right there. This is like the Warner Brothers Studios and them not just sort of wonderfully adapting the animated Bruce Timm and Paul Dini animated universe that was made with Batman and Superman, the animated series, and the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Holy shit, guys. You know, a roadmap is right there. You don't know what to do, clearly. Here it is. There are people who know what they're doing, and you're letting them get away, or you're firing them in some cases, or letting them walk out the door. And this is just... This is all just the most insane behavior, honestly, and it erases the fact that you made the right decision to buy all these companies in the first place. You got some things that were great and appealed to boys, so that the Walt Disney brand could continue beyond infancy. You know, because we love Donald Duck and we love Mickey Mouse and stuff like that, but then like we kind of grow out of Disney, but that doesn't have to be the case. Now they got the Marvel superheroes. Now they got Star Wars. And then they try to appeal to this mass audience, forsake the audience that they have, forsake the boys in particular, and forsake the hardcore fans that love this stuff, that drive the sale of the merchandise, which is another big reason why you bought all this shit in the first place, right? So you could make all this money off the merchandise. Well, your merchandise is hurting now, is it not, Marvel? Is it not DC? I'm not DC. Is it not Star Wars? Is it not hurting? For Pixar even? Look, I see these Buzz Lightyear shit that are just all over the freaking store shelves on clearance. Because you tanked it with Lightyear. And I don't think Pixar brand is completely dead, even though it is in a way, because you just announced that you're focusing on making sequels to Pixar films from now on. No original content. So Pixar, as it was for somebody like me who loves Pixar, it's dead. It's a terrible decision. You're not wrong when you say that too much reverence can be a problem and can halt innovation. But it's not about switching completely to the other side of things, where we abandon any reverence to the things that we love. All great horror movies are using some of the wonderful and brilliant ideas of the classic horror movies that have come before them to add to their greatness, or they're probably not a very great horror movie. The best stuff is building off of foundations that have been set by things before us. There's a reason why we're taught Shakespeare in school. These are some of the foundational stories and ways to tell stories that really can hook you in. The comedy, the tragedy, a little bit of both in everything. Start with a fight. There's so much to learn from Shakespeare, and great writers do. I'm actually mortified by how many of these new writers coming up are afraid to learn from the greats and are afraid to read great things and I'm all about not being directly influenced by certain things when I'm working on certain things. But you cannot make that door of I don't like to be directly influenced very narrow. It's got, or I should say, very wide. It's got to be very narrow. I don't want to be influenced by this and this, and you have to be going to other sources and learning. Shakespeare's a great one, and if you read Shakespeare, you ever have trouble with Shakespeare, just try to get through it and get the gist of it. You don't have to understand everything and the turn of every phrase. You can understand Shakespeare basically, and you'll still really enjoy it because the movements of what happens in the story are great. I'm a big proponent of reading Shakespeare. Shakespeare's awesome. And the basics, there's so many movies that have been based off of Shakespeare's basic tentpoles. Songs are really revolving around the same structure being repeated over and over again. And to a certain degree, progression in that structure, there's not a lot of new things that can be made. It just comes down to how can you present that structure in new ways and how can you build on that structure. And that's really the thing, building on the past is always the best solution to your now. Because the universe is just kind of like, I think of it as like claymation every now and then. If you look at a mountainside or something sped up and you see all of this slowly changing hard matter, but we're just rolling forward from one thing to another. We're really, falling into our lives and being driven by a need to eat and a need for love and a need to take care of our families, and all these different things, are just driving us forward. And because of that, all of the things that are created and take shape, they really take on and hold a lot of significance for everybody, because there's a certain amount of people, especially when things are promoted, who imprint on various things. And if you lose that audience by transforming your thing to such a degree, I think you literally just sort of erode your intellectual property or creation at the very base and allow for it to just sort of disintegrate as it transforms into things but has lost its way from its roots, and eventually will get to a place where it no longer resonates with the people who it was resonating with before. So you always need to adhere yourself to the roots of the thing you're honoring. Disney should be doing new and interesting things innovatively with their animation and with their films. Walt Disney was known for that. Something like Bedknobs and Broomsticks or Mary Poppins. Those are innovative films. All this great animation mixed in with all this live action stuff. I love that stuff for that very reason.
I mean, I've seen every single movie, like The Reluctant Dragon, and even some of his stuff, Victory by Air Power, where animation was used for a military propaganda video for America during World War II. I mean, like, I'm a big Disney guy. I love him. And there's so much to learn and base your stuff on. Like, there are so many ways to continue that innovation and bring that forward, especially as you bring in Lucasfilm and you have Lucas's freaking special effects studio, access to those people, and you've got access to the Pixar people and Steve Jobs. Well, you did, and John Lasseter. I mean, like, there was no end of things that you could have been doing, building on that and continuing to make wonderful love stories as Disney's princesses and the castle for which your logo is based around, the castle that implies a happy ever after. That is your brand. That should have continued. New things could have also been taking place. You brought in Pixar, who are the king of new things. You could have just let them do the new things, and you could have done a really good job with the Disney animation. And you could have tried to do some new things in live action, while you were also adapting lovingly your animation classics into live action. But you didn't do it lovingly. You know, there's a world that people wanted to live in before. If you would have adapted these franchises lovingly, people would have been demanding sequels to every single one of them. And they're not really. You know, the people are like, okay. Yeah. You know, I mean, like, the best thing that most people can say about a lot of them is that they're unoffensive. I've heard one or two people say that the Cinderella one's really good. I haven't watched a lot of them. I haven't wanted to watch them. I love all the originals. And I don't want to see their memory, like, trashed on. And I don't want to be, like, a hater. So, like, if I think I'm going to hate something, I'm like, I don't watch it. And I really thought I was going to hate most of them. And based on a lot of things I've heard, I would hate some of them. So I'm glad I haven't watched them. But these things are representing the brand, and they're changing people's minds. And they're the hardcore people like me who have been following and trying to love these things. I mean, and they're having to defend themselves to all of these hardcore geeks who have been from the moment going, they're changing it in all sorts of ways that I don't like. And these other ones are like, oh, please, like, come on, get over it, and blah, 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 blah. But, like, here we are years later, and now all of those people are starting to change their story. Online, on Twitter, you know, the apologists for Disney have gone away. And what's left is Disney's results of late, which have been fucking abysmal. And I mean, people like me have been trying to say this was where they were headed for a very long time. It's just so stupid. It's all just so stupid. Yeah, you know, I don't know what else I should say about it. I mean, let's see. COVID. Do we really think COVID is responsible for fucking what's been happening right now? COVID. Responsible for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Little Mermaid, Marvels, Elementals, Antman Wasp. I can tell you you're responsible for every single one of these movies and TV shows. You spent way too much money on them, and you didn't make enough money back because the movie that you made did not look appealing. I mean, and there's multiple factors. Hey, Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny, you're literally coming off of Steven Spielberg and George Lucas raping Indiana Jones with the fourth film as far as South Park was concerned, and many others. I hated that movie. So, I mean, you really had an uphill battle there. On top of which, though, what did you bring? You put a chick in it, make her lame and gay, right? The Little Mermaid, a complete, you know, adjustment to that thing, all the stuff that made Prince Eric's character matter. You know, it's like I was hoping that some of the guy characters were going to get fleshed out a little bit more in these movies, because I'm a guy and I've been watching these movies since I was a little kid, and I love these movies. And you know, I wanted Prince Charming, you know, mapped out in a better way. Some of these guys, why can't I have that as well? Instead, we've got the Little Mermaid's responsible for everything. She did everything. She's a boss bitch. She can get it all done. Even though I hear her performance was really good. And a lot of other just sort of like weird things mixed in there across the board. And some just stuff that looks really creepy, and some music that was really awful. In a movie that's supposed to be filled with some of the music of one of my favorite fucking songwriters of all time. I mean, like those 3 films that he made, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and not The Lion King, that was, what's his name, Elton John? Or whoever it was. And Aladdin are some of the greatest things ever. Alan Menken and... is Alan Menken the one who passed away? I always forget his name. I get so upset that I forget his name. He's so fucking talented. He also wrote the music to The Little Shop of Horrors, the man I'm speaking of. You can look it up if you want to. Little Shop of Horrors, my favorite Broadway show of all time, my favorite show of all time, like musical of all time. It's so good. Little Mermaid, and that squawking rap song is in there. Like, you're like sullying the memory of this great composer who was working for you. Or the Marvels. I mean, like I said, I don't know about the Marvels. Captain Marvel 2 could have been done in a lot of ways that could have made it better. Granted, though, you got Antman and the Wasp, Quantumania. I mean, this has been a journey to this. I'm not the only one who thinks fucking Loveness and everything he said about the fans and fucking them being wrong about MODOK. You're fucking wrong, you fucking asshole. I mean, seriously. Holy shit. To move over. Let me drive. I'll show you how you fucking do this shit and make it look cool and scary and interesting and science fiction monsters done as poorly as could possibly be done, and Kang getting defeated by Ant-Man and friends, and I mean just his daughter being a douche to him. Just so many things about that freaking movie that I hated. The Elementals, which did leg out to do pretty well in the box office and on Disney Plus in some of the numbers, but again, the amount of money that was spent on it and everything else, I'm not. I think it's like a break even thing, and again, these movies have just been a bad look for them. Elementals is good, but not great. I like it. I've watched it a bunch of times with my kids, but it's not great. The Pixar movies are great. It's better than The Good Dinosaur, though. That was a weird moment in time, that movie. COVID. Is it COVID? Yeah, COVID didn't stop Barbenheimer. Barbie, right up the middle, something that girls like. A girl brand directed at girls, but done really well. Guys seem to like it, too. Elvis, I think kind of something for everyone. Oppenheimer, an intellectual film, but done really well. And the budget wasn't so much that... they're wasting their money, even though it came in much less than these other guys. John Wick, same thing. And then Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Mario Brothers, Into the Spiderverse, generally pleasing the fans. I mean, Spiderverse, I thought fucking ending was a terrible cliffhanger ending. Way of Water, managed to bring people in. And even though, again, relatively generic in a lot of different ways, but beautiful, nice to look at, good for a family audience, blah, 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 blah. Why isn't your audience showing up, Marvel? Way of the Water literally is getting by. Avatar, Way of Water is getting by on just being like a movie the whole family can go watch and understand and enjoy. And how are your movies not? How's Indiana Jones, The Little Mermaid, Captain Marvel 2, Elementals, Pixar, Ant-Man and the Wasp? How are these movies not lighting the box office on fire? How are these shows, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan and She-Hulk? I mean, like, these things could have been really great. I know these things could have been really great. I mean, look, it's just all fucking bullshit, guys, because I know as a fucking fan how great these things could be. And that's always the battle that I'm fighting. How great it could be versus how great it is. And these things aren't great. Go back and check out my episode from this past weekend. I mean, it's just fucking stupid. And as far as quantity goes, quantity, when it's good, is not a problem. Quantity has not been a problem for Marvel Phase 3 when things were crack-a-lackin' and things were good. Quantity was a problem with the other thing. Quantity was also a problem with the TV shows, them not having any sort of release window on, say, Netflix and other things. I think there's a lot of different ways they could have made the TV shows work for them better. They could premiere them on Disney Plus, then they could have released them on other platforms. There's so many things that went wrong here, and maybe this is like where we should end the conversation, because there is a quantity problem that happened with every single studio. Netflix, Amazon. Amazon's maybe a little steadier as they go, and iTunes seems maybe a little steadier as they go. But in general, it's been very clear to me that all of these companies received a huge influx of cash. They've all been making more television content and film content than ever before in an effort to keep up with Netflix, or in Netflix's case, in an effort to combat everybody who was trying to take over the Netflix position. This created this huge influx of cash into the business that didn't go to any of the creative people. It just went to the studios and their ability to make more content so they could hopefully win the streaming wars and be the company that came out on top of everything. But in reality, all these years later, they just beat the hell out of each other, wasted a ton of money, made tons and tons of content that nobody watched, and a little bit of content that lots of people watched and was like the lost, what do you call it, lost leaders? The lost leaders are the ones, I think that I think I'm getting it right, or I might have it backwards. Of like that they make so much money that it makes up for all the loss that we've had. But they've also had just a steady influx of money. But now that steady influx of money is drying up. That's why these strikes just happened, because the studios, they knew the strikes were coming. They could have made deals beforehand. They needed a rest. They needed to kind of recapitulate themselves after these streaming wars. And what are we going to do? We haven't really been able to crack into Netflix, and everything's finding its own way. And HBO is going to start farming out different things to different platforms, and other people are thinking about doing the same thing and changing their models, and everything's changing. It's a whole recapitulation of the streaming model and Hollywood and what's going on right now. It's really like, I'm sure most people are very afraid who are there. I've kind of moved over to the podcasting thing and just focusing on doing my music and my publishing. So for me, I'm not really affected by it anymore, but I do a lot of commercial voiceover and narration and stuff, and I've, like I said, been more focused on this stuff recently. But I've been in that world and in the unions and dealt with that stuff, and it's legit. People rely on this stuff, and a lot of them work very hard. I kind of would tend to go out for the things that I was right for, and I would get the things that were meant for me. But a lot of people really hustle to work and be extras and do so many things to make their living, and everything is in complete upheaval. And it's all because of the stupidity wrought by these studios, as they have played this game of, chicken with each other in the streaming wars. More content. Who will win? And really, like, slow and steady would have won the race, and a little bit chiller and a little bit smarter. And certainly this identity politics thing has been seeping into every studio in various ways, and it's been a very consistent pattern. And again, like I said, even somebody who's, I don't really necessarily mind a lot of the politics that are on display, but when it becomes a pattern, it's a big deal. Also, there's just a great injustice being done in terms of this representation across the board. And the representation of race tends to be very, limited in the spectrum of actual representation. The same thing with the women. And, Emily Blunt had recently had a quote about saying, if I see strong women in another script that I'm handed, I just like throw it down. I'm so tired of seeing that. And there's a lot of women who are just showing up as like strong woman, but they're not being given an opportunity to be a strong woman in a way that makes the audience empathize with them and feel that and believe that. And it's doing the women a disservice. It's doing the races a disservice when they're being depicted as caricatures of themselves so often, and in a very limited scope range of things. I was one of the classic examples I always like to give is like somebody who was an actor in commercials, whatever else. Like black people, they all have to sound, or at least the men, the men all have to sound the same, or at least there's like two. There's like a well, that's not true now. There's a couple different super ethnic versions that they'll pull out of the thing, but in general there's like a middle version of the black person voice. It's like, hey man, how's it going? Yeah, no, I'm Tyrone, or whatever the fuck they're gonna make their stereotypical name when they write like characters like this. And a lot of this comes from commercial writing, where they're just writing real stereotypical characters, and these depictions of a lot of this inclusion are just very stereotypical, and they aren't going as deep as they should. When all the characters were white, the writers were like, well, all the characters are white and look the same, so we need to make them very different as far as their characters go. But as soon as the characters, there was like, and then we got a black guy, like, oh, and that became the character, like he's the black guy. And that's why you have jokes about token on South Park. He's the token black. Well, that's because that was a stupid way of going about inclusion. And they weren't giving the black guy something significant enough to do that gave him a character trait that you were like, oh, he's on revenge of his father, or I don't know, whatever it might be. And then instead the audience is looking at them in kind of a racist lens because it's just stereotypical black guy is in the group. There's a black guy. What do I know of other black guys? I'll have to apply that to him. Like, this is the kind of writing that was going on. And this is still the kind of writing that goes on with it's like the character's gay now. So okay, I'll make sure that he's seen kissing boys a lot. Why? Because that's what gay people do. Yeah, but like the book wasn't always about Spider-Man kissing girls all the time. The book was about Spider-Man fighting. Like, and now like he's gay, so now he's gonna kiss boys all the time. Like you're taking the focus away from what the focus was supposed to be. A lot of this stuff is just poorly handled, and I think really diminishes gay people and women in particular all the time, and really various races have been being disrespected by the way this superficial system thinks about things for forever. The system was superficial yesterday, it's superficial now. There was a lot of hold up over like female toys wouldn't sell, like a character like Black Widow, which I think a character like Black Widow kind of always would sell when it was done cool, and certain female characters would sell when they were done cool, and there was always a hesitancy to like put them out because oftentimes the girl characters wouldn't sell. Granted, a lot of times they were right, and I would see that they would make certain girl characters and they would sit on the shelf. I mean, right now you can go to Ollie's, wherever their locations are in the Midwest, and you'll find hundreds of Invisible Woman figures from the Fantastic Four wave that was put out a little while ago by Marvel Legends that didn't sell, and the one that didn't sell the most was the Invisible Woman. Human Torch, Man on Fire, he always sells the best. The Thing, he sold better. But a lot of their villains that were relatively unknown, and Mr. Fantastic, who's a little plain Jane, and Invisible Woman, who's a little plain Jane, they didn't sell so great. So there was some truth to why they were doing things and holding certain things back, but there was a balance and they needed to adjust. But a lot of times though, when you would come in as a writer, say with your lead as a female, they'd be like, this is great, but can we make the lead a man? Girl toys don't sell. Something like that. So then you'd have to go rewrite your script. And then you'd make your character who was originally your lead like another character somewhere in the script because you'd want to get her in. Or the character's gay and they wouldn't let you do that. Or, whatever the thing might be. There was a lot of things that you couldn't do because it was felt that like too much against the relative norm, what has become such a curse word to me. I hate hearing this, but like what you would call like the cis male norm was no good. You couldn't do it. And like I said, there was some truth to this. There was some evidence of a lot of this stuff, but I knew that it wasn't exactly 100% true, and a change needed to be made, and that change did get made, but then it got overcorrected really hard. And now there's like this list of all these things that they're doing in every one of these movies, on every one of these TV shows. I mean, they're talking about Pedro Pascal being cast as Reed Richards, and it's really actually pissing me off after all this time because there's this board on the Disney thing that was leaked kind of thing, and it basically was all these all these nationalities being represented, and there was only one that was like sub-outable for another, and that was white male, which could be subbed out for a Spanish guy. Hispanic people could replace a white male. They didn't need a white male in their principal cast of these things. These were like all the ethnicities that they needed to include to try to be as inclusive as possible. But white male could be subbed out with a Hispanic male because basically that was close enough. And first, let me say, I hate any conversation that's like boiling people down to their freaking ethnicities. It so stinks. But art is a simple boiler form representation. If the character is purple in the books, I want him purple in the movie. If he's green in the book, I want him green in the movie. If he's white in the book, I want him white in the movie. That's it. Be as additive to the situation as you would like to be. Add new characters to the Marvel Universe. It's great. Let public opinion and all your readership sort out who we like, who we don't. Keep adding characters until we find ones that we like. I mean, seriously. Be additive, but don't just change the thing for arbitrary reasons. And this thing of a Hispanic guy is as good as a white guy, it's funny because on one level, I agree, because a lot of Hispanic guys and white guys look close enough. And Pedro Pascal looks relatively white. So he kind of looks like Reed Richards, I guess, enough. But at the same time, it's like this silly thing of like, once again, like, our leading man can't be a white guy. I'm just like, it's just like this. It makes me notice that I'm a white guy, and it really bothers me. Like, not bothers me being a white guy. I don't care being a white guy, but it just bothers me that I'm living in a culture that, like, just we're so focused on this. It bothers me that, like, there are a whole bunch of people who are black or gay or women or whatever that feel immediately some sort of feelings about me because of what they have come to decide a white guy means or represents. It's just like, it's terrible. Especially because, like, I've always believed in that don't judge a book by its cover, and that I was always going to present one way. Oh, my son is calling me. My son, you're interrupting. My son, you're interrupting my show. I'm doing my show. I'm on my microphone right now, and I'm still recording. I haven't stopped because I'm letting you interrupt my show. But I will call you back. It's okay. I love you. I'll call you back. He didn't even mean to call me. Look at that. That's my son, Grayson Wayne, making an appearance. I don't remember what I was saying, but this is just silly, this whole racism thing. You know, I think it is race baiting at this point, and this sex baiting and like all this stuff. I mean, like, what happens when we fight? They get away with murder. You know, when we're focused on all this other bullshit, politicians and world governments are doing terrible things. And I really think that if we're going to put our energy into something, it should be paying attention to what they're doing and making sure they do less bad things and more good things, and trying to make the world a better place and building community together and coming together. And it's very hard to build community and come together when people are constantly being baited over politics and all this stuff. And that is a game that unfortunately Disney has played. And I mean, I think actually that's the last thing that I'll say about Bob Iger. He never should have gotten involved in that political fight in Florida. You know, I don't want to get into all the stupid nuances of that thing, but it was a state political matter. Disney famously donates to both sides, Republican, Democrat, both of them, you know, because it's a business and it's helpful to be bipartisan, to be able to have the full audience of people. I've talked about this all the time. The audience of people is very nuanced. Not just these hardline Republicans and hardline Democrats. It's just a whole sea of people out there, and there's no reason to sour yourself to any of them by getting too involved in state politics. They got themselves into a whole bunch of business thing, and I think they got themselves out of it, but they got themselves into some trouble with the whole Reedy Creek thing, and it was just very foolish of them to have a pissing contest like that. And again, I think this thing of Bob Iger, having an idea about getting into politics in the future, and that affecting his kind of judgment in these matters and making him lean more liberally than he probably should. And, you know, as the steward of Disney and somebody who's running it into the ground now, he's not just the steward of Disney and all the Disney animation I love. He's the steward of Marvel and the steward of the Muppets and the steward of Pixar and the steward of Star Wars. And he's fucking up the brand. Trying to blame Bob Chapek is bullshit. These problems started years ago. And you, Bob Iger, are responsible for the current downfall of Disney. I don't know if you are capable of righting the ship, and it seems as though a corporate takeover may be afoot right now, and you might not have a choice in how Disney moves forward. And perhaps you shouldn't, because goddamn, you have really gotten this company, a company that I love more than any company on planet Earth, into a big pickle. Anyway, that's all for today, Coolest Geeks. I love you. Thank you for tuning in. You are amazing, my audience. It's so great. I love to hear from you. You can email me at jesseblaze@jessesnider.com, or if you're on Twitter, you can follow me at Coolest Geek JBS on Twitter, or X, whatever it's called. Yeah, keep your eyes open. I'm not up yet, but we'll be on Fund My Comic with Fucking For Our Future really soon. I'm really excited about that book. And actually, I have a new podcast. I'm not sure if the first episode got up yesterday or not, but it should be every Monday starting next week at the very latest. It's called All Your Favorite Bands Suck. I think you're really going to like it if you're a music lover. It's just me shining a light on some of the bands that I think are some of the greatest bands of all time, bands that I don't think have really gotten the attention that they deserve in the mainstream as mainstream greatest bands, of all time. I mean, a lot of these bands have gotten attention in their circles, but rock and punk and humor and so many different genres are really marginalized in the mainstream. And if you go look up Rolling Stone magazine's thing, you'll find a lot of bands I think are being excluded that you'd like to see on the list, and I want to see them on the list, and I'm adding them to the motherfucking list. So check out my show if you like music stuff. All Your Favorite Bands Suck with Jesse Blaze Snider. Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks again for tuning in, and please join me again this Saturday for an awesome episode of the Coolest Geek Alive, where I'm going to be talking about what is it in particular? Oh, I'm going to be talking about all of the geek victories over corporate culture that we've had throughout the years, all the major victories that we've had, like the Marvels, continuing my backing of the fandom, that we are allowed to celebrate the failure of the Marvels because we did tell them so, unfortunately, and they have been not only not listening to us, but insulting us. So I'm going to be talking about that and other major corporate culture failures that were geek culture wins this Saturday on Coolest Geek Alive. And please join me again next Wednesday for another fabulous episode of the Coolest Geek Alive. Love you. Bye. You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part. Isn't that heavy? I played that. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Coolest alive. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Stay with your tribe. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Revenge of the Geeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after weeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. I'm a genius. I got lyrics coming out me bum for days. You like that? It's a kazoo solo. I played that too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living your shit. My voice is fucking awesome. Foot in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right on text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the top. Awesome. Passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go. It's going to be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
The Podcast Playground.